If you enjoyed this interesting video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you even more exciting and thought-provoking content. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Join our growing community today. Your feedback, comments, and ideas truly keep this channel alive.
Chapter 1: The Rise of Mwata Kazembe. In the heart of Central Africa, where the dense forests meet sprawling savannas, the seeds of a powerful kingdom were quietly taking root. Mwata Kazembe, the title given to the rulers of the Lubalunda dynasty, would come to command not only the loyalty of his people but also the respect of neighboring chiefs and traders. The story of this formidable leader begins in the late 17th century, a time when trade routes were emerging, and kingdoms were defining themselves through strategy, warfare, and diplomacy. The young Kazembe was born into a world of both opportunity and danger. His early years were shaped by the traditions of his people, steeped in ritual, history, and the expectation that a ruler must be wise, brave, and cunning. From a young age, he learned to read the movements of both friend and foe, to understand the subtle signals of loyalty, and to recognize the signs of rebellion. It was in these formative years that he began to develop the qualities that would make him a legendary commander. As a youth, Kazembe trained under the guidance of seasoned warriors. He was taught the art of combat with the spear and shield, the strategies of leading men into battle, and the importance of inspiring courage through action, not just words. His instructors were clear: a true leader commands respect by being at the forefront, sharing danger with his soldiers, and making decisions that weigh both risk and reward. These lessons became ingrained in him, shaping a style of leadership that balanced fearlessness with careful planning. By the time he reached adulthood, Kazembe's reputation had begun to spread beyond his immediate territory. He was known not only for his physical prowess but also for his ability to read the battlefield. In skirmishes with rival chiefs, he demonstrated an uncanny ability to anticipate enemy movements, positioning his forces to strike decisively. His soldiers trusted him implicitly, following his commands with loyalty that bordered on devotion. The sight of Kazembe standing tall at the head of his warriors, spear in hand, ready to charge into the fray, became a symbol of both protection and power. Trade played a critical role in the rise of Kazembe's kingdom. The region was rich in salt, ivory, and other valuable commodities, and controlling these resources required not only military might but also shrewd diplomacy. Kazembe understood that alliances with neighboring chiefs and trading networks with Swahili Arab merchants could strengthen his position and bring wealth to his people. He negotiated deals, mediated disputes, and even adopted certain practices from traders to ensure that his kingdom would thrive economically as well as militarily. Yet leadership was never without challenges. Rebellion simmered in outlying territories, and rival leaders were constantly seeking opportunities to test his strength. Each threat demanded careful judgment: when to show mercy, when to strike swiftly, and when to use cunning rather than brute force. Kazembe's early campaigns were a proving ground, teaching him that the greatest victories often came not from sheer numbers but from strategy, timing, and the morale of his troops. Among his people, Kazembe was more than a military commander. He was a symbol of unity, embodying the values, traditions, and ambitions of his kingdom. His presence inspired confidence, and his decisions carried weight because they were rooted in a deep understanding of both his people and his enemies. The loyalty he commanded was not imposed through fear alone; it was earned through consistent leadership, fairness, and the visible willingness to share in the hardships of his warriors. By the end of his early campaigns, Mwata Kazembe had secured the foundations of his kingdom. He had established control over key trade routes, built alliances with neighboring rulers, and earned the respect of both his people and potential adversaries. Yet, this was only the beginning. The challenges that awaited him would test his courage, intellect, and resolve in ways that would define his legacy for centuries to come. In this first chapter of his story, we see the making of a legendary commander, a leader who understood that true power comes from a combination of strategy, loyalty, and personal bravery. Mwata Kazembe's rise was not a matter of chance but of vision, preparation, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. As the sun set over the forests and rivers of his kingdom, the young Kazembe stood ready, aware that the path ahead would demand every skill he had honed and every ounce of courage he possessed. Chapter 2: The First Campaigns and the Command of an Army. As Mwata Kazembe matured into his role as a ruler, the realities of leadership became impossible to ignore. The kingdom he inherited was vast and rich, but wealth alone did not guarantee safety or influence. Rivals lurked in the surrounding territories, eager to challenge his authority and seize control of trade routes that promised both power and profit. Kazembe understood that to solidify his rule, he had to prove himself not only as a wise leader but as a skilled commander in the field. His first major campaign came when a neighboring chief, emboldened by the rumors of Kazembe's youth, attempted to raid one of the frontier settlements. The invaders expected minimal resistance, underestimating the discipline and courage of Kazembe's warriors. From the moment he learned of the threat, Kazembe displayed the tactical brilliance that would become legendary. He positioned his soldiers along the narrow river crossings, using the terrain to limit the enemy's advantage. Spears and shields were readied, and messengers carried his commands to every unit, ensuring that every warrior understood their role before the battle began. Kazembe himself led from the front. Mounted on a sturdy horse, he moved through the ranks, giving orders, encouraging the timid, and striking fear into the approaching enemy with his imposing presence. The young commander knew that morale was as important as strategy. Soldiers who saw their leader unflinching in the face of danger were inspired to fight with unmatched determination. The battle unfolded with intensity, dust rising from the ground as warriors charged, clashed, and parried. Kazembe's sharp eye and quick decisions turned potential chaos into coordinated action. Every movement of the enemy was met with precision, and within hours, the would-be raiders were forced to retreat. This first victory was more than a military success, it was a statement. Kazembe's leadership and tactical skill were now recognized throughout the region. Chiefs who once doubted his ability began to reconsider their stance, while neighboring traders understood that his kingdom was both stable and formidable. The young ruler's approach combined aggressive defense with strategic restraint. He was not a reckless warrior. He knew when to strike and when to hold back, a balance that kept his kingdom secure while avoiding unnecessary loss of life. The campaigns that followed built on this initial success. Kazembe faced insurgencies in other parts of his territory, dealing with rebellions that threatened to fragment his authority. Each time, he applied the lessons of terrain, timing, and psychological impact. He trained his soldiers to move in disciplined formations, to react to sudden attacks, and to protect both civilians and supply lines. Commanding an army, he realized, was as much about foresight and planning as it was about bravery. A single misstep could undo months of work and weaken his influence among allies and enemies alike. Trade routes, vital to the prosperity of his kingdom, were also a priority during these campaigns. Kazembe understood that control over salt, ivory, and other goods strengthened his position not just economically but politically. He often traveled alongside his forces, negotiating with merchants, ensuring safe passage for caravans, and reinforcing loyalty among local chiefs. This dual role of warrior and diplomat became a hallmark of his leadership style, making him both feared and respected. Even in the heat of battle, Kazembe maintained a keen awareness of his army's needs. He ensured that supplies, weapons, and reinforcements were positioned efficiently, using scouts to monitor enemy movements and prevent surprises. He emphasized communication, sending messengers with clear instructions and using signals to adapt to changing circumstances. His ability to coordinate large groups of warriors in complex operations was unmatched in the region, establishing his reputation as a commander who combined intelligence with courage. By the end of these early campaigns, Mwata Kazembe had not only defended his kingdom but expanded its influence. Villages once loyal to rival chiefs now pledged allegiance to him, trade routes were secured, and the foundation for a lasting dynasty was being laid. His soldiers spoke of him in reverent tones, describing a leader who fought alongside them, who understood their struggles, and who always had a plan. His enemies, in contrast, learned to respect his name, knowing that any attempt to challenge him would be met with both strategic precision and fierce determination. These early victories were critical in shaping Mwata Kazembe's legacy. They demonstrated that his leadership was grounded in both courage and strategy, in the understanding that power is not simply inherited but earned through action. The young commander's ability to inspire, coordinate, and triumph in the face of danger marked the beginning of a reign that would be remembered for centuries. Chapter 3: Strategy and Diplomacy, Expanding the Kingdom. After securing his borders through decisive victories, Mwata Kazembe turned his attention to a different kind of battlefield, the realm of diplomacy and trade. While battles and campaigns demonstrated his military skill, he understood that the longevity of his kingdom depended on forging alliances, managing resources, and maintaining influence over both his people and neighboring leaders. This chapter of his life highlights the blend of strategy, foresight, and leadership that defined his reign. The region over which Kazembe ruled was rich in natural resources, including salt, ivory, and fertile lands. Controlling these resources was crucial not only for the wealth of his kingdom but also for its political leverage. From the outset, he recognized that trade routes were lifelines. Swahili Arab merchants traveled across Central Africa, exchanging goods and spreading influence. Kazembe approached these merchants with a combination of respect, negotiation, and strategic thinking. By allowing them controlled access to trade while securing taxes and alliances, he increased his kingdom's prosperity without overextending his military. Kazembe's diplomatic efforts extended beyond merchants. He regularly met with neighboring chiefs, some of whom had previously been hostile. Rather than relying solely on intimidation, he combined displays of strength with gestures of goodwill. Gifts, ceremonial recognition, and shared feasts became tools to strengthen loyalty and reduce the chances of rebellion. He understood that fear alone could not secure lasting peace. Respect, honor, and mutual benefit were equally important. One notable strategy Kazembe employed was the careful placement of trusted governors and warriors in key villages and border areas. These men acted as both administrative leaders and military protectors, ensuring that the kingdom remained unified. They were trained to follow his orders swiftly and accurately, maintaining discipline among local populations and acting as early warning systems against potential threats. This network allowed Kazembe to respond to uprisings or raids quickly, often before they escalated into major conflicts. While diplomacy often required patience and subtlety, Kazembe never lost sight of the need for readiness in battle. Training continued across his kingdom, and soldiers were drilled in formations, communication, and rapid response tactics. Kazembe himself frequently led exercises, demonstrating techniques, correcting mistakes, and reinforcing morale. By maintaining a culture of discipline and preparedness, he ensured that his kingdom could defend itself while simultaneously engaging in strategic alliances. Trade and diplomacy also influenced social and cultural development. Kazembe supported artisans, encouraged the exchange of ideas, and fostered respect for tradition alongside innovation. By combining economic opportunity with cultural identity, he strengthened loyalty among his people. A prosperous, proud population was less likely to rebel and more likely to rally behind him when danger arose. In essence, Kazembe's diplomacy was not just about dealing with outsiders. It was about creating a cohesive, resilient society capable of sustaining his vision of a powerful kingdom. During this period, Kazembe faced challenges that tested his political acumen. Some rival chiefs attempted to manipulate trade agreements, while others sought to undermine his influence by forming secret alliances. Kazembe responded with careful observation, strategic meetings, and selective displays of force. He learned to distinguish genuine threats from empty posturing, and he used both carrot and stick to maintain control. His approach combined patience, decisiveness, and the ability to read human behavior, qualities that elevated him from a mere warrior to a statesman. Kazembe's successes in diplomacy and trade did not go unnoticed by European explorers and traders arriving on the periphery of Central Africa. While initial contact was limited, these interactions would later introduce new dynamics to his kingdom, including the challenge of foreign influence. Even in these early encounters, Kazembe's reputation as a capable, strategic leader spread, signaling to outsiders that his kingdom was neither weak nor easily intimidated. By the end of this period, Mwata Kazembe had transformed his kingdom into a hub of military strength, trade, and political influence. His ability to combine battlefield prowess with diplomatic skill allowed him to expand his territory and secure the loyalty of both his subjects and allies. His people saw him not only as a fierce warrior, but as a wise ruler capable of guiding them through complex political landscapes. The third chapter of Kazembe's story underscores a vital truth: lasting power is rarely achieved through force alone. By marrying strategy with diplomacy, and by valuing loyalty and prosperity alongside military strength, Mwata Kazembe laid the foundation for a kingdom that would endure for generations. As the sun rose over the forests and rivers of his expanding domain, Kazembe's influence reached further than ever before, and the legend of the Mwata Kazembe began to grow beyond his homeland, setting the stage for even greater challenges ahead. Chapter 4: Trials of War, Confronting Rival Kingdoms. With his kingdom secure and trade networks thriving, Mwata Kazembe faced the next stage of leadership, confronting powerful rival kingdoms that challenged his authority and threatened the stability of the region. By this time, Kazembe had earned a reputation as both a strategic diplomat and a fearless commander. Yet the battles that awaited him would test every lesson he had learned about leadership, courage, and tactical warfare. The neighboring kingdoms, observing Kazembe's growing influence, began to view his territory as a prize. Some attempted to provoke him through raids on border villages, while others sought to disrupt trade routes that enriched his people. Kazembe's response was methodical and deliberate. He knew that rash action could spark prolonged conflict, but inaction would invite further attacks. He studied the terrain, gathered intelligence from scouts, and meticulously planned his campaigns, ensuring that each engagement maximized his strengths and minimized unnecessary risk. When the first major confrontation erupted, Kazembe personally led his warriors to the battlefield. His army moved with precision, advancing in disciplined formations, shields raised, and spears at the ready. The young commander's presence inspired confidence among his soldiers. They knew that their leader would never ask them to face danger he himself would not confront. This morale proved crucial during the fiercest moments of combat, as enemy forces launched coordinated attacks aiming to break Kazembe's lines. Kazembe demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt under pressure. When enemy flanks threatened to encircle his troops, he quickly reorganized his formations, directing warriors to reinforce weak points while using smaller, agile units to strike vulnerable sections of the opposing force. His use of terrain was also instrumental. Rivers, hills, and forests were integrated into battle plans to restrict enemy movement and create opportunities for ambushes. These tactics, learned through years of experience and observation, consistently gave him the advantage in combat. The battles were not only physical contests but also psychological warfare. Kazembe understood that demonstrating control and confidence could undermine his enemy's resolve. Before major engagements, he would parade his troops in full ceremonial dress, their shields and spears gleaming, and he would make his presence known to the opposing commanders. This display of strength, combined with his reputation as a skilled tactician, often caused hesitation and disarray in enemy ranks before the first clash even occurred. Despite his strategic brilliance, Kazembe faced setbacks. Some rival chiefs were cunning, employing deceptive tactics or forming temporary alliances against him. Each encounter demanded careful assessment and swift decision-making. Kazembe learned to balance aggression with restraint, knowing when to press an advantage and when to withdraw temporarily to preserve his forces. These experiences refined his judgment, making him not only a fierce warrior but also a wise and adaptable leader. During these campaigns, Kazembe also ensured that civilians were protected. His warriors were trained to defend villages and maintain supply lines, preventing chaos and ensuring the kingdom's economic stability. This dual focus on military success and social order strengthened loyalty among his people and reinforced his authority. Villagers often rallied behind his forces, providing support and intelligence that proved invaluable during engagements. One of the most significant victories of this period involved a coalition of rival chiefs who sought to overwhelm Kazembe's forces with superior numbers. Using a combination of ambushes, feints, and rapid troop movements, he turned their numerical advantage into a liability. The battle ended in a decisive victory for Kazembe, solidifying his reputation as a commander capable of outthinking and outmaneuvering even the most coordinated adversaries. The impact of these campaigns extended beyond immediate military success. Kazembe's victories expanded his influence, bringing previously hostile territories under his control and securing key trade routes. Neighboring rulers, recognizing his strength and intelligence, were more inclined to form alliances rather than confront him. His people, inspired by his leadership, became more unified and resilient. Chapter 4 of Mwata Kazembe's story highlights a crucial period in his reign, where his abilities as a strategist, diplomat, and commander were tested to the fullest. The challenges he faced and the victories he achieved not only reinforced his authority, but also laid the groundwork for a legacy that would endure long after his reign. In the forests and plains of Central Africa, the legend of Mwata Kazembe grew, inspiring fear and respect across the region and establishing him as one of the most formidable leaders of his era. Chapter 5: Consolidation of Power, Strengthening the Kingdom. Following his hard-fought victories against rival kingdoms, Mwata Kazembe recognized that sustaining power required more than battlefield success. A strong kingdom depended on stable governance, secure trade, and the loyalty of its people. By the mid-18th century, Kazembe had established himself as a respected commander and strategist, but the next phase of his reign focused on consolidating authority and creating lasting structures that would support his dynasty for generations. One of his first priorities was fortifying key territories. Kazembe instructed his trusted lieutenants and warriors to oversee strategic villages, river crossings, and trade centers. These positions were carefully chosen to maintain both security and influence. Soldiers stationed in these areas were trained not only in combat but in administration, ensuring that local governance aligned with the central authority. This system allowed Kazembe to respond rapidly to threats while maintaining order across the kingdom. Central to his consolidation strategy was the strengthening of the army. Kazembe expanded training programs, emphasizing discipline, coordination, and tactical flexibility. Warriors practiced formations, ambush techniques, and rapid maneuvering across diverse terrain. By maintaining a highly organized and responsive military, Kazembe ensured that any challenge, from rival chiefs to marauding bands, could be met effectively. He personally oversaw these drills, inspiring confidence through his example and reinforcing the bond between leader and soldiers. Trade networks were another pillar of his consolidation strategy. Kazembe understood that economic prosperity reinforced political authority. Salt, ivory, and other valuable commodities flowed through his kingdom, and he actively protected these routes from disruption. He negotiated with Swahili Arab merchants and neighboring rulers, ensuring that trade agreements benefited his people while reinforcing his own influence. This careful balance of commerce and control allowed the kingdom to grow richer and more stable, providing resources for both military campaigns and civil projects. Kazembe also strengthened alliances with neighboring chiefs through diplomacy and ceremonial recognition. By honoring local leaders, offering gifts, and arranging strategic marriages, he built loyalty without relying solely on force. These alliances reduced the likelihood of rebellion, provided intelligence on external threats, and created a network of cooperative territories that extended Kazembe's influence. His approach showed a deep understanding that power was not maintained solely through conquest, but through relationships grounded in respect and mutual benefit. Social cohesion was equally important. Kazembe invested in cultural and religious traditions that unified his people. Ceremonies, rituals, and festivals reinforced shared identity and loyalty, while leaders within local communities were encouraged to mediate disputes fairly and uphold the kingdom's laws. By integrating governance, culture, and military discipline, Kazembe ensured that his authority was recognized not just out of fear, but because people saw tangible benefits in unity and order. During this consolidation period, Kazembe faced challenges that tested his leadership beyond the battlefield. Internal dissent occasionally surfaced, as ambitious local leaders or dissatisfied groups attempted to assert independence. Each situation required careful judgment. Sometimes force was necessary, but more often, negotiation and strategic concessions proved more effective. Kazembe's ability to distinguish between minor disputes and serious threats allowed him to maintain stability while avoiding unnecessary conflict. Education and training were extended beyond soldiers to include administrative officials and emerging leaders. Kazembe believed that a strong kingdom depended on capable governance at every level. By mentoring young leaders and instilling values of loyalty, discipline, and strategic thinking, he ensured that his successors would inherit a kingdom prepared to face both internal and external challenges. By the end of this period, Mwata Kazembe's kingdom had become a well-organized, prosperous, and resilient state. Trade thrived, alliances were secure, and the army was disciplined and loyal. The foundations of a powerful dynasty were firmly in place, supported by strategic foresight, skilled governance, and cultural cohesion. His people recognized the wisdom of his leadership, while potential rivals understood that his authority was both legitimate and unassailable. Chapter 5 highlights the essential role of consolidation in Mwata Kazembe's reign. Beyond the glory of battles, the creation of stable institutions, disciplined armies, and strong alliances ensured that his power would endure. This careful, strategic approach cemented his legacy as not only a formidable warrior, but a visionary ruler whose kingdom could thrive long after his campaigns had ended. Chapter 6 Encounters with Foreign Traders, Navigating New Challenges. As Mwata Kazembe's kingdom grew stronger, a new challenge emerged on the horizon: the arrival of foreign traders along the eastern and northern trade routes. By the late 18th century, European and Swahili Arab merchants were increasingly exploring Central Africa, seeking valuable resources such as ivory, copper, and slaves. While these traders offered economic opportunities, they also introduced uncertainty, new power dynamics, and the potential for conflict. Kazembe's ability to navigate these challenges would test his diplomacy, intelligence, and leadership in ways that few internal rivals ever had. Kazembe approached foreign merchants with cautious curiosity. He recognized the benefits of trade, access to firearms, metal tools, and other goods that could enhance his military and civilian infrastructure. At the same time, he understood the risks. Foreign influence could destabilize his kingdom, exploit his people, and shift the balance of power in the region. His strategy was measured: welcome commerce, enforce rules, and maintain control over interactions to ensure that the kingdom's sovereignty remained intact. When a group of Swahili Arab traders arrived along the Congo River, Kazembe personally met with them. Dressed in the ceremonial attire of his dynasty, he projected both authority and hospitality. The traders were impressed by the organization of his kingdom, the discipline of his army, and the order in his villages. Kazembe negotiated carefully, allowing controlled access to ivory and other goods while setting strict conditions on prices, trade routes, and protection for local communities. His approach ensured that the kingdom profited without ceding power. Foreign traders often brought with them new ideas and technologies. Kazembe observed these developments closely, incorporating useful innovations while discarding practices that could undermine local traditions. He encouraged skilled artisans and blacksmiths in his kingdom to adopt techniques that improved weapons, tools, and agricultural equipment. This selective adaptation strengthened both the economy and the military, demonstrating Kazembe's foresight and his commitment to blending tradition with progress. These encounters also required careful intelligence gathering. Kazembe deployed scouts and envoys to monitor the movements of traders and to assess the intentions of foreign powers. By staying informed, he was able to anticipate potential threats and respond proactively. For example, when rumors spread of rival chiefs attempting to ally with European traders against him, Kazembe acted quickly to strengthen loyalty within his own ranks and to reinforce control over critical territories. His ability to balance vigilance with diplomacy ensured that foreign presence became a strategic advantage rather than a liability. While commerce brought wealth, it also introduced social challenges. Foreign goods and ideas attracted curiosity, and sometimes ambition among local leaders. Kazembe addressed these challenges by reinforcing cultural values, maintaining clear authority, and emphasizing loyalty to the dynasty. Through ceremonies, storytelling, and public displays of leadership, he reminded his people that the kingdom's strength rested on unity, respect for tradition, and trust in their ruler. Kazembe's military preparedness remained critical during this period. Even as he welcomed traders, he continued to train his army in the use of new weapons and tactics. Firearms obtained through trade were integrated carefully, enhancing the capabilities of his forces without creating dependence on foreign suppliers. Ambushes, patrols, and rapid response units were maintained to protect trade routes and border regions, ensuring that economic gains were not undermined by threats or opportunistic raids. These dual strategies of diplomacy and defense strengthened the kingdom's position in the region. Kazembe's reputation grew not only among neighboring chiefs but also among foreign merchants, who learned that the Mwata Kazembe was a shrewd, capable, and respected leader. His ability to manage external influences while maintaining internal cohesion became a defining feature of his reign. Chapter 6 highlights Mwata Kazembe's skill in navigating the complex dynamics of early foreign contact. By combining negotiation, strategic adaptation, intelligence, and military readiness, he ensured that external forces became opportunities rather than threats. This period demonstrated that true leadership required more than battlefield prowess. It demanded vision, flexibility, and the wisdom to safeguard the kingdom's independence in an evolving world. Chapter 7 Reforms and Succession, Securing the Future. As Mwata Kazembe's kingdom grew stronger and his influence expanded, he recognized that enduring power required more than victories in battle and successful diplomacy. Long-term stability depended on effective governance, fair justice, and the careful preparation of the next generation of leaders. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Kazembe began implementing internal reforms and succession strategies to ensure that his legacy would endure for generations. One of his first priorities was strengthening administrative structures. Kazembe appointed trusted lieutenants and local chiefs to oversee villages and regions, giving them clear responsibilities while holding them accountable for the well-being of their communities. These officials acted as extensions of his authority, ensuring that taxes were collected fairly, disputes were resolved efficiently, and law and order were maintained. By establishing reliable governance at every level, Kazembe created a kingdom capable of sustaining itself even during periods of external pressure or military campaigns. Legal reforms were also a cornerstone of Kazembe's internal policies. He codified customary laws and introduced clear procedures for resolving disputes, emphasizing fairness and consistency. By doing so, he reduced internal conflict and strengthened the trust between his people and the central authority. Villagers and local leaders alike understood that the Mwata Kazembe valued justice and fairness, enhancing loyalty while minimizing the risk of rebellion or factionalism. Military reforms continued alongside governance improvements. Kazembe's army, already disciplined and strategically skilled, benefited from structured training programs and hierarchical command systems. Soldiers were organized into units with designated leaders who reported directly to Kazembe's central command. This structure allowed for efficient communication, rapid mobilization, and coordinated action during both offensive and defensive operations. By combining strong governance with a professional military, Kazembe reinforced the kingdom's resilience against both internal unrest and external threats. Succession planning was a crucial aspect of Kazembe's reforms. Understanding that the continuity of the dynasty depended on capable heirs, he mentored his sons and younger relatives in leadership, strategy, and diplomacy. These training sessions went beyond ceremonial instruction. They included lessons in battlefield tactics, negotiation, and problem-solving under pressure. Kazembe emphasized that true leadership required both courage and wisdom, and he expected his successors to embody these qualities. Education extended beyond the royal family. Kazembe encouraged the development of skilled administrators, advisors, and warriors from various social backgrounds. By cultivating talent across his kingdom, He ensured that leadership did not rest solely on birthright but also on competence. This approach created a network of capable officials and commanders who could support his reign and maintain stability during transitions of power. Kazembe also reinforced cultural and religious practices as a means of unifying the kingdom. Ceremonies, festivals, and rituals celebrated the history and traditions of the Lubalunda dynasty while reminding people of their shared identity. By intertwining governance, military strength, and cultural cohesion, Kazembe created a kingdom where loyalty was both earned and nurtured, and where the central authority was recognized as legitimate and indispensable. During this period, Kazembe faced occasional challenges to his authority. Ambitious local leaders sometimes sought greater independence, and external rivals continued to observe his kingdom closely. However, the reforms he had put in place allowed him to respond effectively. Loyal administrators ensured that information reached him quickly, disciplined soldiers protected critical areas, and legal systems provided avenues for resolving disputes before they escalated into rebellion. His strategic foresight minimized threats and reinforced stability throughout the realm. Trade and economic prosperity remained closely tied to these reforms. By maintaining control over trade routes and encouraging commerce under regulated terms, Kazembe ensured that the kingdom's wealth supported both governance and defense. Artisans, farmers, and merchants prospered under his rule, and their loyalty to the central authority grew as a result. Economic stability reinforced social cohesion, providing the kingdom with the resources needed for future campaigns, infrastructure projects, and ceremonial life. Chapter 7 emphasizes that the strength of Mwata Kazembe's reign was not solely derived from conquest or diplomacy but from careful, deliberate governance. By implementing reforms in administration, law, military organization, and succession planning, he created a resilient kingdom capable of enduring internal and external pressures. These measures ensured that his authority would persist beyond his lifetime, and that the legacy of the Mwata Kazembe dynasty would continue to shape Central Africa for generations to come. Chapter 8: Later Campaigns, Defending the Kingdom's Legacy. As Mwata Kazembe entered the later years of his reign, the challenges facing his kingdom became increasingly complex. Neighboring states had grown stronger, European influence was expanding, and internal governance required constant attention. Despite decades of experience, Kazembe knew that the stability of his dynasty and the prosperity of his people depended on both continued military vigilance and the careful management of political alliances. One of the defining features of this period was a series of later campaigns designed to protect the kingdom's borders and reinforce trade routes. Rival chiefs, alarmed by Kazembe's growing influence, occasionally attempted to encroach on his territory. Each incursion was met with a combination of strategic planning and decisive military action. Kazembe personally oversaw operations, moving swiftly to areas under threat, coordinating troop movements, and issuing clear commands that allowed his forces to respond efficiently to unexpected challenges. His command style remained hands-on. He often positioned himself near the front lines, observing enemy movements and adjusting tactics in real time. This direct involvement not only inspired his warriors but also allowed him to make rapid decisions under pressure. Battles during this period were marked by careful coordination, with units executing flanking maneuvers, ambushes, and rapid redeployments to exploit weaknesses in enemy formations. The ability to command multiple operations simultaneously showcased Kazembe's skill as a leader and strategist. These campaigns were not merely defensive. Kazembe also used military action to secure key trade hubs and to reinforce loyalty among distant territories. Armies were dispatched to quell uprisings, protect merchants, and establish order in regions where authority had weakened. By maintaining a visible presence and demonstrating both strength and fairness, Kazembe ensured that subjects and allies alike understood the value of unity under his leadership. Alongside military operations, Kazembe continued to navigate the growing influence of foreign traders and explorers. European and Swahili Arab merchants were increasingly active in Central Africa, seeking resources and alliances. Kazembe engaged with these outsiders selectively, using their trade to strengthen his military and economy while preventing them from undermining his authority. He balanced the introduction of new technologies, such as firearms, with the preservation of local traditions and control over his army. This careful integration ensured that foreign influence enhanced rather than destabilized his kingdom. Internal operations also demanded attention. Kazembe oversaw the administration of justice, the training of new officials, and the implementation of reforms designed to maintain order. Communication networks were strengthened, allowing messages and commands to reach distant regions quickly. Scouts monitored both internal and external threats, providing timely intelligence that allowed Kazembe to make informed decisions. Every operation, whether military, political, or administrative, reflected his philosophy that leadership required vigilance, foresight, and active involvement. Despite his age, Kazembe remained a dynamic commander. He adapted to changing circumstances, incorporating lessons learned from earlier campaigns. His strategies combined direct action with diplomacy, ensuring that battles were won decisively but that long-term stability was preserved. The ability to conduct multiple operations, defensive maneuvers, offensive campaigns, trade negotiations, and internal governance demonstrated the remarkable scope of his leadership. By the end of this period, Mwata Kazembe had secured his kingdom against both internal dissent and external threats. His legacy as a commander, diplomat, and reformer was firmly established. Villages were protected, trade thrived, and his dynasty's authority extended over a wide territory. Soldiers and officials alike spoke of his leadership with admiration, noting his ability to integrate strategy, courage, and fairness in every operation. Chapter 8 underscores the importance of sustained leadership and operational excellence in Mwata Kazembe's reign. His later campaigns, administrative oversight, and engagement with foreign powers illustrate that the success of a kingdom depends on coordinated, continuous effort. By managing military, political, and economic operations with precision, Kazembe ensured that the foundations he had built would endure, leaving a legacy that continued to inspire respect and loyalty long after his time. Chapter 9: Preparing Heirs, Preserving the Dynasty. As Mwata Kazembe's reign approached its later years, he turned his attention to the future of the kingdom and the continuity of his dynasty. He understood that the power he had built through decades of military victories, strategic diplomacy, and careful governance could be lost if succession was not properly managed. This chapter explores Kazembe's efforts to train his heirs, secure loyalty among his people, and ensure that the Mwata Kazembe legacy would endure. Kazembe placed great importance on education and mentorship for his sons and other potential successors. They were taught the full spectrum of leadership skills, strategy, diplomacy, administration, and military command. Lessons were not merely theoretical. Young leaders were taken on inspections of the kingdom, involved in real decision-making, and sometimes placed in command of small units to test their judgment under pressure. Kazembe's goal was to cultivate confidence, wisdom, and practical experience so that his heirs could step into leadership roles with authority and competence. Training was balanced with moral instruction. Kazembe emphasized the values that had guided his reign: fairness, loyalty, courage, and respect for tradition. His successors learned that leadership required not only the ability to command troops and negotiate alliances, but also the responsibility to uphold the well-being of the people. By instilling these principles early, Kazembe ensured that future rulers would prioritize unity and stability over personal ambition or recklessness. Succession planning also involved securing loyalty from key officials and military leaders. Kazembe convened councils to reinforce allegiance to the royal line and to communicate the importance of continuity. Trusted generals, advisors, and governors were reminded of their roles in supporting the next ruler and preserving the kingdom's strength. By building a network of reliable supporters, Kazembe minimized the risk of internal power struggles that could arise during transitions of authority. Military readiness remained central even as succession planning progressed. Kazembe continued to oversee training exercises, drills, and patrols, ensuring that the army remained disciplined and loyal. He introduced his heirs to battlefield command gradually, allowing them to witness strategy in action, issue orders under supervision, and learn the nuances of leading men in combat. These experiences were invaluable in preparing the next generation for the responsibilities of rulership. Kazembe also focused on maintaining the kingdom's economic foundation. Trade routes remained secure, and commerce with neighboring states and foreign merchants continued under regulated conditions. By ensuring that wealth and resources were well managed, he provided his heirs with a kingdom capable of sustaining both governance and defense. This careful stewardship reinforced the legitimacy of his successors and the stability of the dynasty. Cultural and social cohesion played a key role in succession. Kazembe encouraged ceremonies, festivals, and public displays of authority that highlighted the continuity of the royal line. The population was reminded that leadership was not only about the individual, but about the enduring values and institutions of the kingdom. These rituals strengthened loyalty and minimized the risk of rebellion during the transition period. Challenges did arise. Rival chiefs and ambitious local leaders occasionally tested the authority of Kazembe's heirs, seeking to exploit perceived weaknesses. However, thanks to careful preparation, loyal troops, and well-placed officials, these challenges were met with coordinated responses that demonstrated the strength of both the kingdom and the emerging leadership. Kazembe's training and oversight ensured that his successors could act decisively and command respect even in tense situations. By the end of this phase, Mwata Kazembe had successfully prepared his heirs to assume leadership with authority and competence. The dynasty's continuity was secured, and the kingdom's stability remained intact. His foresight, strategic planning, and emphasis on education and loyalty ensured that the values, culture, and power of the Mwata Kazembe line would be preserved for generations. Chapter 9 highlights the critical importance of succession in sustaining a powerful kingdom. Mwata Kazembe's meticulous preparation of heirs, reinforcement of loyalty, and maintenance of economic and military strength illustrate that true leadership extends beyond immediate victories. It requires planning for the future. Through these efforts, Kazembe not only protected his legacy but ensured that his people would continue to prosper under capable and responsible rulers. Chapter 10: The Legacy of Mwata Kazembe. As Mwata Kazembe's reign drew to a close in the early 19th century, the full impact of his leadership became evident across his kingdom and beyond. His decades of military prowess, diplomatic skill, and careful governance had transformed a regional chiefdom into a powerful, prosperous, and well-organized state. This final chapter reflects on his enduring legacy and the lessons that can be drawn from his life as one of Central Africa's most remarkable leaders. By the end of his rule, Kazembe's kingdom was both stable and respected. His armies remained disciplined and well-trained, capable of defending the territory against external threats. Trade routes, secured under his strategic oversight, connected the kingdom to neighboring regions and foreign merchants, bringing wealth, goods, and influence. Villages and towns were governed efficiently, and the administrative reforms he had implemented decades earlier ensured that power was maintained consistently across the realm. One of the hallmarks of Kazembe's legacy was the careful preparation of his successors. His sons and younger relatives had been trained in leadership, strategy, and diplomacy, ready to inherit a kingdom capable of sustaining itself. Kazembe's foresight ensured that transitions of power would not destabilize the kingdom, and that the dynasty would continue to shape the political and social landscape of the region for generations. This focus on succession demonstrated his understanding that a ruler's true success lies not only in personal achievements, but also in the enduring strength of the institutions they build. Cultural and social cohesion remained central to his legacy. Kazembe reinforced traditions, ceremonies, and public rituals that united his people under a shared identity. These practices strengthened loyalty to the royal line and encouraged a sense of community and pride. By integrating cultural continuity with effective governance, he created a kingdom where social stability and political authority were mutually reinforcing. His people viewed him not merely as a commander or ruler, but as a custodian of their heritage and protector of their prosperity. Mwata Kazembe's military and diplomatic accomplishments were intertwined. He had successfully defended his borders against rival kingdoms while negotiating strategic alliances that expanded influence without unnecessary conflict. His encounters with foreign traders were managed with skill, ensuring that trade and technology enhanced rather than undermined the kingdom's autonomy. By balancing force with diplomacy, Kazembe demonstrated that effective leadership requires both courage and wisdom, the ability to act decisively while maintaining perspective and foresight. Economically, his reign left a lasting impact. The controlled trade of ivory, salt, and other commodities created a foundation of wealth that supported both military and civil projects. Merchants, artisans, and farmers flourished under his policies, which emphasized fairness, protection, and prosperity. This economic stability not only reinforced loyalty but also positioned the kingdom as a regional hub of commerce, capable of sustaining itself even in the face of external pressures. In reflecting on his life, it becomes clear that Mwata Kazembe was more than a warrior or a ruler. He was a visionary leader. His ability to integrate military strategy, diplomacy, governance, and cultural stewardship created a model of leadership that was admired by allies and feared by rivals. His kingdom became a symbol of order and strength, demonstrating the power of intelligence, foresight, and consistent action in shaping a lasting legacy. Even after his passing, the influence of Mwata Kazembe persisted. His successors inherited not only territory but also the institutions, alliances, and trained military that ensured the kingdom remained strong. Stories of his leadership, courage, and wisdom were passed down through generations, becoming part of the oral and written history of the region. Today, Mwata Kazembe is remembered as one of Central Africa's great rulers, a commander whose vision and determination shaped both the destiny of his people and the course of regional history. Chapter 10 concludes the story of Mwata Kazembe by emphasizing the enduring lessons of his reign, the importance of foresight, the integration of diplomacy and military strategy, and the value of nurturing both leadership and loyalty among successors. His life demonstrates that the true measure of a ruler lies not only in conquest but in the stability, prosperity, and unity they leave behind. Mwata Kazembe's legacy continues to inspire respect and admiration, a testament to the enduring power of wisdom, courage, and strategic leadership in shaping the course of history.